Hello my loves, it's Ebird Online and I'm here with another review from 90 Day Fiance, and this is season 7 episode 11, Blindsided, and today I'm going to be talking about Blake and Jasmin and Angela and Micheal. So the Ebird has a little theory that Jasmin's an introvert, and I believe this is the basis for all of Jasmin and Blake's problems, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail later, but first up we're going to talk about Angela and Micheal. So a big warm hug to all of those who have subscribed to my channel so far, and I'm very nearly on 18,000. Guys, thank you so much for your support, it really does mean a lot. But if you listen to my videos and you've yet to press the subscribe button, please do so to help the Ebird out. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Mbird99. And we're off to Nigeria to see Angela and Micheal, and we meet them standing outside of the American embassy in Lagos, Nigeria. Angela tells us she's going to go into the embassy and find out what's happening to her K1 visa application. She wants to know why it's been denied, and she asks Micheal, who should I ask for when I get in there? And Micheal says, ask for the officer. If Angela doesn't know who to ask for in an embassy, I doubt the application was filled in rigorously or scrupulously. And Angela doesn't have an appointment, and Angela marched into the embassy. 2 minutes later, Angela marched out of the embassy, and she said, I'm not allowed to go with no appointment. And she said quite respectfully, I raised hell. Angela, you know very well you didn't do it respectfully. You did it loudly and coarsely and probably insolently. And Micheal asked her what happened, and she said, well, I was told that I had no appointment and I wasn't allowed in. And I told them I'm the petitioner, and my government told me that I'm allowed to come in cases of emergency. The officer laughed at her and said, K1 is not an emergency. Well, I know it is. And apparently she marched from room to room and person to person, and finally she was told she needs to log onto the internet and set up an appointment request. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before. It's completely unsurprising to me that this K1 application has failed, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later. But I think it's a case of the blind leading the blind. But who does Angela think she is? Thinking she can just waltz into the American embassy and demand that somebody looks into her case and explains why her visa has been denied. As if you're going to be able to pull that sort of information up on a whim. The American consulate in Lagos is no doubt set up for people who fall ill whilst in Lagos and have to be transported back home, people who lose their passport or other official document, people whose family have lost their lives in the country in question. Angela, it isn't for K1 visa emergencies. So next time we catch up with this couple, they're going to dinner at Micheal's family. But before they do, they have to get a traditional daughter-in-law to mother-in-law present, and Micheal tells Angela apparently it's customary. I actually don't think it is. One, she's not a daughter-in-law yet anyway, and two, every time you visit you have to buy a present. All of my Nigerian crew, please let me know. I find this extremely difficult to believe. Michael's mum would like a microwave, and Angela unsurprisingly is very reticent to buy it. But in the end, Micheal talks her round and they go to a shop where there's a lovely silver microwave, and Micheal inquired as to the price. Normally this one now, normally 40,000. And Angela asked how much that was in American dollars, and Micheal lied and said it was £95, but it's in fact £110. So Angela said, no, this is worth about $50. And then Micheal said, what if we buy one more thing? And before Angela knew what was happening, he was saying, yes, my sister-in-law, she wants a kettle. Can we have the electric kettle, please? Okay, so the electric kettle is 10,000 naira. So 10,000 and 40,000, 50,000 naira she owes now. But then Angela says, all I got is 15,000 naira. I'm going to be a Nigerian American very soon. I'm going to be your sister. And she said, if you can be so kind to show Nigerian love for me. Angela, you're already getting Nigerian love from Micheal. How many more do you want? And the shopkeeper was so disgusted by that thought, he threw the microwave and kettle at them, snatched the 15,000 naira and said, get out of my shop, I never want to see you again. Well, I'm sure that's what must have happened, because I can't work out any other reason that they managed to get a 65% discount. And the Ebird would never suggest that Micheal knew the owner of that shop and that they were in on a joint scam. Never suggest it at all. No way, no how, it's simply not true. And so next they go to dinner at Michael's mum's house. So they arrive, everybody hugs each other, and it does seem as if there's genuine affection between Michael's mum and Angela. And every time I see Michael's mum I think, wow, what a stunning looking woman she is. Her skin is so smooth, just like Angela's is now. And Michael's sister-in-law asks Angela to help out in the kitchen. You know what, I can't cook, it's going to be a nightmare. And the sister-in-law explains that the newest wife does all the cooking and all the serving. It's a sign of respect and humility. Sister-in-law, don't worry, because anyone that's in the presence of Angela realises that Angela oozes is respect and humility. She doesn't need to serve you just to prove it. And as they all sit down to dinner, talk turns to the visa. And Angela says, they denied our visa in 20 minutes. You cannot make decisions in 20 minutes and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. How do you know it was 20 minutes? Really, who told you that? And there's no need to go to the embassy to try and get to the bottom of it. The Ebird can tell you why. Firstly, Michael's interview was probably doggy doo-doo. That we know of, he failed to mention the time that you talk on the phone and the fact that you are properly engaged with a full party. The second reason is because of your age difference. They don't believe the relationship is real or for the right reasons. They believe Michael to be an economic migrant and not a love-struck 30-year-old. And the final reason, which is all your fault, Angela, is your lawyer. Now, something told the Ebird that this lawyer was no good. Something told me that this lawyer didn't really know immigration law as he should. And what do I find? And one of my subs alerted me to the fact that this is a general lawyer and not an immigration specialist. Why ever would you do something as costly as getting a K1 visa? And why ever would you do something that's as important as getting your fiance into the same country as you without someone that was a specialist in that area? And having studied law myself at university, I know there is a lot of legislation regarding immigration and it's ever changing. Unless you're a specialist, you cannot keep up with things. There, Angela, I've got to the bottom of it. No need for your visa interview. But then the conversation takes a different direction. They start pressuring Angela to get married in Nigeria, and as we know, Angela does not want to get married in Nigeria. It's her tax-paying right to get married in America. But Michael's brother-in-law says Michael wants to start his own family, and if you won't get married here, it's better off that you split up and Michael can find someone in Nigeria. Really? Is that what you all want? Of course you don't. You all want to get a bit of that American dollar. If Angela were to pull the rug from under Michael, you guys would not know what to do with yourselves. The big plans that everybody has off the back of Michael's American dollars would all go up in smoke. So if you want to call her bluff, try and find something that it's worth calling her bluff with. But of course, Angela being Angela, she believes every word, and she looks at Michael and said, is that what you want, Michael? And Michael just looked down. He didn't look her in the eye, and he didn't say yes or no. Angela was fuming. Oh, hell no, you didn't say that. Michael, your ass is grass. So guys, there have been lots of rumours that Angela's going to get married in Nigeria, but I've been looking into it and it still does not mean that Michael will automatically have a passage into America. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think Michael will ever step foot on American soil as an American citizen? For some reason, I still don't. And next up, Jasmine and Blake. So guys, today is Everett's birthday and the whole gang are going out for dinner and then they're going to a bar for drinks. And Blake begins by telling us his friends are still sceptical about Jasmine, but he hopes this will be an opportunity for her to win them over. So Blake goes over to his parents' house where Jasmine lives and Jasmine's getting ready. However, she tells him she wants to skip the dinner with friends and she wants to have a dinner with just Blake. And Blake said, but why? We'll eat just you and I together and then we'll go to the party afterwards. And so Blake said, oh God, my friends already think that you're divisive and now it's going to be even worse. And the most important part is the dinner. There's only a select few people going. And Jasmine said, no, the most important thing is the party. Our relationship and we are more important than this dinner. And Blake later tells the producers, I'm not super happy that we're not going because they're already skeptical about her and this is just set to make it worse. I say to Blake, you need to put your foot down. You should have said absolutely no way. Let's just go for the dinner and you can go to the party for an hour and then you can go home early and say you're tired. But there's no way I'm missing out on a dinner where my absence will be noted just because you want to spend time on your own with me. But of course Blake doesn't do that. He just agrees with her and they go to their own restaurant. So when they arrive, they both order and she has a green tea and he orders a wine cooler. And she said, what have you ordered? A wine cooler? Alcohol? Well, you know the rules with alcohol. If you start drinking, then there's no kissing. Now what Blake should have said at this point is, that's okay, I'll just take a BJ. But yet again, he doesn't. He sits and listens to the rest of what Jasmine has to say. And Jasmine said, I can smell it on your breath, it's disgusting. When you start drinking, I just really don't like it. And we hardly spend any time together as it is. And when we do, now you're drinking. Well, I suppose if you just have the one drink, then I can deal with it. You just don't need alcohol to have fun. Really, Jasmine? Is green tea where all the fun's at? It doesn't seem so to me. And so when they finish their meal, Blake orders another drink. Naughty Blake. And as he begins to drink it, Jasmine says, right, I'm going home after this. And guys, it's really obvious to me that Jasmine has planned this little interlude. She knew very well that Blake is a drinker. And Blake said, I should have gone on my own from the beginning. This is ridiculous. You pretended that you wanted to spend time with me, and now you don't want to go to the after party. And she said, I'm not going to go with you because you'll be drinking and you're going to be drunk drunk. And then Jasmine says, well, I'm going to go to my sister's. So Jasmine gets up and decides to wait outside for her taxi. And the producer asks her, why are you waiting out here? And she says, it's really selfish of Blake to ask me to go. I really don't care what his friends think. Well, at least Jasmine has made that blatantly obvious. And Blake goes outside to meet her. Now I have to explain why you don't want to come. Blake, no, you don't have to explain anything. Stop being weak. And Blake said, you know I drink on special occasions and celebrations, and this is a birthday. And Jasmine said, whatever, I don't want you to drink. And he said, well, I would have drank at the after party anyway. And she said, well, then I'd have walked out of there. So, Jasmine, are you saying wherever a partner or a boyfriend of yours drinks, you walk out of? Because I don't believe it. I've seen your Insta. You're on yachts, and you're in Dubai, and you're here and there. The guys that pay for you to go all around the world don't do so in order that they can drink green tea with you. So Blake calls Jasmine a taxi. I call her a selfish brat, but off she goes to her sisters. And Blake tells producers, we never argue, so this is a new one for me. Blake, you never argue because you always back down. You back down on Jasmine coming over at a time that was convenient to you. She decided she wanted to come over earlier, and you just allowed her to come over, knowing you had nowhere for her to live and that you weren't going to be living together. And you also backed down when she told you she didn't want to go to Everett's party. You should have said, no, the table is booked. We've accepted an invitation. My mother taught me manners, and I'm not so rude that I now would decide not to go. Blake, get a backbone. And then she tells us, I'm so annoyed with Blake, and so that's why I'm going to spend a night at my sister's. That makes no sense, Jasmine, because you don't live with Blake anyway. What you actually mean is, I just want to hang out with my sister. That's actually what you mean. So guys, I think that Jasmine knew very well that Blake was going to drink on this evening, and she knew that when he did so, then she was going to say, right, I'm just not going. I'm going to my sister's, which is basically what you wanted to do all along. So she turned up to her sister's, and when her sister opens the door, she comes in and she's like, hi, how are you? And they greet each other just as coldly as Jasmine greets everybody. They don't give each other a hug, and there's just a small smile, and their faces are not animated. And her sister offers her tea or water. Choices, I can't decide. And she sits down, and Jasmine sits down and starts telling her sister what's happened. And she said, Blake wants to go out to a party, and Blake wants to drink loads, so I decided not to go. And then her sister said a very telling thing. She said, I hate these bar situations as well, so I understand. Not, I don't like it when my partner drinks as well. Just, I don't like being in bars. Very interesting. And Jasmine said he doesn't understand that it's not my thing. Again, nothing to do with the drink, but just that it's not your thing, Jasmine. And then her sister said, you have to consider the feelings of others, Jasmine. And Jasmine tells producers, I want Blake to understand that I'm not hanging out with his friends all the time. He doesn't really care what I feel. And she says to her sister, Blake needs to dial back on his lifestyle. He's a real daredevil. He goes here, there and everywhere. Is he a daredevil? I'm just trying to work out when I've ever seen Blake be a daredevil. In fact, yes, I've got it. One, when he went to get his hair dyed blonde at the barber's. Props to you, Blake, because it's something that a lot of guys wouldn't dare do. And I think secondly, when he tried to roll into his parents' house and pretend he had no knowledge of the fact they don't like people living together in sin. He was quite a daredevil then, because Mama Blake didn't look very happy. And then Jasmine said, we always do what he wants, partying and going to bars and going to gigs, but he's not interested in any of the things that I want to do. And what is it you want to do, Jasmine? Meditation, yoga and relaxation. Relaxation, Jasmine. You don't work. You can relax all bloody day. Why does Blake have to do it with you? Meditation. Surely you do that on your own. And then she went on to say, the American thing is to be extra loud. Now, Jasmine. You know on this channel we don't have any sweeping generalizations. And she continues, the Finns are calm and show no emotion. And she said everything is all about Blake. Blake needs to show that he makes me a priority. So guys, if we dissect all of this, what I get is this. Jasmine is an introvert. She doesn't really like to mix with people, and she doesn't obviously like getting drunk or going to bars. And so her decision to marry a music producer might be seen to be a bit of a strange one, but she thinks that opposites attract. And we've already gone over this before, but opposites most certainly do not attract. So I think this massive difference between them is going to be somewhat of a problem. Most people in a partnership have a partner who has similar interests and a similar ethos to life. And I think because Jasmine is such an introvert, instead of actually telling the truth and saying, Blake, I hate being around loads and loads of people. It puts me on edge. I don't enjoy the scenario. And I'm not massively an open person. So it takes me a very, very long time to get to know people. If she told him that, he might listen a little bit more. He may have said to her, let's just go to the meal. You can sit next to me and we'll talk together. And then when it comes to going to the club, you can then just go home. And I'm happy to explain to my friends, you're not the clubbing type. But instead, she tries to turn it back at Blake and say it's because you're getting drunk, because you've had more than one drink. I'll argue this, and I'd argue it to my dying breath. A wine cooler is barely an alcoholic drink. If you dilute wine, which is pretty weak anyway, down with ice, it's more or less next to nothing. But then again, I guess it has been said that I'm an old lush, and maybe that's true. But I don't think many men would get drunk on 2 wine coolers. You're an introvert and you don't want to mix with people, and that's absolutely fine. Admit it, and don't try and make it Blake's problem or Blake's issue. Social interaction is a problem for Jasmine, and the sooner that she's honest with Blake, the better off she'll be. But you didn't think I'd let Blake get away without a tongue lashing now, did you? Of course not. And all I'm going to say to Blake is you need to get a backbone. You need to tell Jasmine that it's very rude to accept an invitation and then at the last minute to say, no, I don't want to go. And you also need to get a backbone with your friends. Rita's sitting there running Jasmine every chance she gets. Rita's sitting there saying, why isn't she doing this? Why isn't she doing that? Everett's doing exactly the same. You need to tell them, pipe down. It's my girlfriend. What you think about it means next to nothing. And you seem only to be interested in getting her to understand your lives and to listen to your music and to do everything that you're doing. I'm quite happy if Jasmine doesn't want to get really into the hip hop scene. I understand, it doesn't bother me. So if Blake were to toughen up a bit, I'm sure his life would be a lot easier. And I think both of these guys are using each other for what they can get. Blake likes the cachet of having beautiful Jasmine on his arm, a girl that he couldn't usually get unless he was dangling his green card. And Jasmine, well, she wants to be near to her sister, and she's ignoring the fact that Blake is the opposite of the type of person that she is. She's trying to change him. Stop drinking, don't drink. You do not change a drinker into a non-drinker. It's virtually impossible. Take it from me, I know. People have tried and they've all failed. But guys, I want to know what you think. Do you think that Jasmine's just making excuses and trying to put all the blame onto Blake? And do you think that Blake should stand up to other people and stop caring so much about what other people think about you? I find Blake so needy. His blonde hair, the little mask on his face. Blake, you seem like quite a cool guy. Just be yourself. So guys, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for listening. Just before I go, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to press the like button as well. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.